Now, in recent days, a new trend online has provoked increasing concern from the left and the media. The trend is called super straight. This is a new sexual orientation, hot off the presses, though not really new at all, invented by a TikTok user in a video that has since been removed. I'm not sure if he removed it himself or TikTok took it down as hate speech. Certainly the left has declared the video hate speech. An article posted to Yahoo bears the headline, "A social media trend has people identifying as super straight. The transphobic campaign was meant to divide LGBTQ people." And Pink News declares transphobic trend super straight has links to the far right and neo-Nazis. Of course, because everything does. The website Distractify says social media users explain how super straight is transphobia, not a sexuality. Then the article comes with a warning for those who didn't get the message from the headline that, quote, transphobic statements are ahead. Before we go any further, I guess we should probably watch the video. So let's watch the video that started all the commotion. Here it is.
Yo guys, I made a new sexuality now, actually. It's called super straight, okay? Since straight people or straight men as myself, I get called transphobic because I wouldn't date a trans woman. You know, they're like, would you date a trans woman? I'm like, no, why? That's a female. No, like, that's not a real woman to me. Like, I want real woman. No, you're just transphobic. So now, I'm super straight. I only date the opposite gender, women, that are born women. So you can't say I'm transphobic now because that's just my sexuality, you know?
Pretty edgy stuff. So the guy in the video, which that Yahoo article mentioned earlier calls a hate and disinformation campaign. That's what they said about that video. It's a hate and disinformation campaign. But he's really just making the point that he's attracted to females, which means he's not attracted to males, even males who identify as female. The reason for this, by the way, is that generally speaking, a human being is sexually attracted to another human being based on who that other human being is, not based on what perception the other human has of themselves. The idea of being attracted to another person's self-perception seems absurd, incomprehensible, because it is. Now, I'm not going to go around calling myself super straight, and I don't think we should make any serious attempt to turn super straight into a thing, simply because being regular straight, a normal old heterosexual, already means being attracted to members of the opposite sex to the exclusion of members of your same sex, even the ones who identify as members of the opposite sex. Coming up with a new term would seem to surrender this ground and concede that it's possible for a person to be straight and yet also attracted to members of his biological sex. I don't want to do that, so I'm going to stick with plain old heterosexual to describe myself. But this super straight thing is more of a troll than anything else, and as a troll, I have to admit it's pretty funny, and it makes an important point. And the point is pretty simple. Two can play at that game, right? If the left can go around inventing new sexualities out of whole cloth, then anybody can. And if LGBT people can express pride in their sexual preference, then anybody can. One of the trending hashtags on Twitter right now is super straight pride. And many of the people using the hashtags are accusing those who criticize them of engaging in superphobia. Now, again, it's silly and really funny. But the point is that if you think this is silly, then all of the other invented sexualities and genders are just as silly. And so is labeling someone transphobic or homophobic for criticizing you or disagreeing with you. Now, the left does not want to add super straight to the list of sexualities, but keep in mind that this is a list which includes, but is not limited to, allosexual, androsexual, asexual, autosexual, bicurious, bisexual, demisexual, fluid, gay, graysexual, gynosexual, heterosexual, heteroflexible, homoflexible, homosexual, lesbian, pansexual, queer, questioning, sapiosexual, sex repulsed, scoliosexual, and spectrosexual. By the way, a demisexual is just someone who needs to have an emotional connection to someone in order to be attracted to them. That's a demisexual. If you need that emotional attachment, that emotional connection in order to feel the attraction. So in other words, women are demisexual. A sapiosexual is someone who finds intelligence attractive. And a gynosexual, as the name suggests, is someone who is attracted to the female body. So in other words, a straight man or a lesbian. An allosexual, get this, an allosexual, I'm not making this up, and I just found this out this morning, is someone who experiences sexual attraction, okay? If you're attracted to anyone, then you're an allosexual. Any sexual attraction at all makes you an allosexual. What this all means is that the super straight community is selling itself short, I think. I mean, you could add a whole bunch of additional labels. You could be a heterosexual, allosexual, gynosexual, super straight. This is how ludicrous it's gotten. There are already LGBT orientations and pride flags for people who are straight, but for whatever reason don't want to call themselves that. I say for whatever reason, but I know the reason. The reason is that there is privilege that comes with being in the LGBT camp, being under that umbrella. Okay, it's not cis heterosexual privilege. It's LGBT privilege. That's what we have in this culture. And that's why straight people invent sexualities. I mean, they remain straight, but they invent new labels just so they can fit, just so they can be in the club. And if you have a club that everyone is desperate to be a part of, that's a pretty good indication that your club is privileged. That's like the definition of a privileged club. And all of these sexualities interact with the ever-expanding list of genders. Now, this is certainly but a partial catalog, but that list includes agender, androgynon, androgynous, bigender, cisgender, gender fluid, gender nonconforming, gender questioning, gender variant, gender queer, intersex, non-binary, pangender, trans female, trans male, trans person, trans woman, trans feminine, trans masculine, two-spirit, and other. And like I said, very partial list. Matching up a sexuality with a gender is like a March Madness bracket. There are like 98 trillion possible outcomes. And all of these different words and labels are only meant to obscure the fact that in reality, it all still boils down to the same basic, quote, traditional possibilities. When it comes to sexual orientation, the left has simply found 100 different ways to repeat itself. But they hasten to remind you, only they are allowed to do that. This is a game that only they are allowed to play. They can invent genders, invent sexualities, express great pride in their new creations. You cannot, they say. You're not allowed, according to their rules. And that's a very good reason to break their rules and do it anyway, just to annoy them. I mean, for no other reason. So I'm a supporter of the super straight movement for that reason alone. In fact, I think we could invent some more. I mean, the sky is the limit. Maybe we could come up with different sexualities based on the day of the week. If you're attracted to somebody on a Tuesday, you're a Tuesday-sexual. If it's Wednesday, you're a Wednesday-sexual. Of course, Friday-sexual would be a popular identification. I suspect there won't be a lot of Monday-sexuals. Is this completely stupid? Sure. But the people who talk about demisexuals and allosexuals, have no room to criticize. And that's the point. Two can indeed play at this game. And if you don't like it, then maybe we should all stop playing it. Well, I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Matt Walsh Show. If you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right down there so you can stay up to date on all of our future content.